how unlucky you can be to win a lottery and become filthy rich overnight, only to end up broke again a few days later, and sometimes even worse off than before. But this really has happened, and today we're going to show you the faces of 10 of those dumb lottery winners. Let's see how they blew through their millions in such a short time. Number 10. Michael Santaniello. This is Michael Santaniello. He could have lived a pretty good life, as he literally had the golden ticket. You see, in 2009, he won $1 million in the Massachusetts lottery. With this money, he could have purchased a house, invested in assets, or just saved for retirement. But what did Michael do? He spent it like it was never going to run out. At first, he made a smart decision. He had the money set up so he would get around $35,000 a year after taxes. But that wasn't exciting enough for him. He didn't want to play it safe and wanted more. So instead of just enjoying what he had, he went all in. He started spending his winnings on gambling. He threw thousands into bets, thinking he could flip his luck and win even bigger. But as you can already guess it, he didn't. The money disappeared faster than it came in. And when that ran out, he didn't stop. He got more desperate. You see, Michael owned a heating oil business, and instead of doing honest work, he started scamming people. He would take payments from customers, mostly elderly, and just ghost them. He would never give them the service he had promised. Of course, that didn't last. People started complaining and filing reports. Eventually, the law caught up with him, and Michael was hit with charges. He had to pay the money back and even ended up behind bars. He won $1 million and somehow managed to lose it all, plus his business, his freedom, and any ounce of trust people had in him. All because he couldn't stop spending, couldn't stop gambling, and just didn't know when to quit. In the end, he ended up worse off than before. The same thing happened to this next lottery winner, David Lee Edwards. Number 9. David Lee Edwards. David Lee Edwards might have pulled off the fastest fall from millionaire to total disaster we've ever seen. One minute, he was broke and living in a house without running water. The next, he had $27 million in the bank and absolutely no clue what to do with it. You would think someone who spent half their life in prison would be careful with money. But no, David went full chaos mode the second he got that check. Before the cash even hit his account, he borrowed $200,000 just because he knew money was coming. What did he do with that loan? He took his friends to Vegas and blew the entire thing in 5 days. That should have been the first red flag. But David wasn't even close to being done. Once the millions landed in his account, he went on a shopping spree that made absolutely no sense. He bought a mansion in Florida, a second house in California, a private jet with a personal pilot, and then came the ridiculous extras. $80K on a gold watch, $160K on a diamond ring, $30K on a TV in 2001 when HD wasn't even a thing, and 200 medieval swords. He also bought racehorses, but they lost. Started a limo company, which was a total failure. Dumped millions into a fiber optics business, but it collapsed. In short, he was just playing a rich guy fantasy game and didn't realize he was burning through his money. By the end of the first year, he had already spent $12 million. That's almost half his money, which was gone now. And then came the worst part. He and his wife, Shauna, relapsed. They started doing drugs, pills, needles, and going to wild parties. At one point, they were spending $200,000 a month just on drugs. Eventually, they had no more money to spend, and they ended up living in a rented storage unit with no heat and garbage on the floor. From mansions to mattresses on cement, that's how fast it all went downhill. Number 8. Jonathan Vargas. Next, we have Jonathan Vargas. He was just 19 when he won $35 million. Honestly speaking, he had no business winning the lottery so young. He was barely out of high school, didn't know the first thing about money, and definitely didn't have anyone around to stop him from doing something dumb. So what did he do with $35 million? He launched a women's wrestling show and named it Wrestlicious. If you were thinking he started it as a joke, you are wrong. The show had everything you would expect from a teenager's fantasy version of TV. He made sure that the show had wild costumes, silly characters, fake accents, and terrible comedy skits. Jonathan even gave himself a stage name, JV Rich. He showed up in every episode, rapped in the intro, and acted like he was running some billion-dollar empire, which of course he wasn't. The show aired for one season. Just 13 episodes, which means it flopped. People didn't get it. Critics hated it, and viewers simply didn't care. But he wasn't done embarrassing himself. He also created a dating show just to test if his girlfriend really loved him. That's true. He put together a whole competition with 20 women, all to see if his actual girlfriend was with him for the money. That's where his trust issues took him. Besides all the TV disasters, he bought a mansion and splurged on sports cars, designer clothes, and everything else you would expect someone way too young with way too much money to waste it on. He had no plan and no budget. He was just spending non-stop on anything that felt fun in the moment. Most of his fortune went straight into that weird dream of becoming a TV celebrity. He wasn't interested in saving, investing, or even just chilling. He wanted the fame, the spotlight, the applause, even if it came from a show nobody watched. And let's be real, Restlicious wasn't going to land him any Emmys. As expected, the money quietly slipped away after a few weeks. No surprise there. Turns out producing TV isn't cheap, especially when you're the one throwing money at it like it grows back. And Jonathan wasn't making anything back, just spending as much as he could. Before long, JV Rich faded out of the picture. Today, no one really knows where he is or what he's doing. All that money, all those big dreams, and nothing left to show for it. Next, we have a lottery winner who had the heart of a queen but no financial sense whatsoever. Number 7. Janet Lee. This is Janet Lee. She won $18 million in the Illinois lottery back in 1993 when she used to run a wig shop. But that one lucky ticket changed her life. Her prize came in yearly payments of $620,000. That's a lot of money to work with. And to her credit, Janet actually did a lot of good. She donated big to her community, supported Korean American groups, paid for funerals, and even helped fund a reading room at a law school. Her name was on plaques. She sat next to presidents. Even politicians loved her. But while she was doing all of that, her bank account was quietly bleeding out. She spent millions of dollars on donations. People estimated she gave away $1.5 million to just one university. She handed over $100,000 to the Democratic National Committee, gave generously to Missouri politicians, and even donated $150,000 to help the unemployed and the Korean community. These were kind gestures, but they were coming out of her lottery checks, not a bottomless fund. And of course, she spent some money on herself as well. She bought a mansion, took out loans, and signed off on one very bad investment in a restaurant. She even opened a private club for Korean Americans that never actually opened. Just more wasted cash. At one point, she lost almost $350,000 in casinos. In the end, she had so many credit card bills that she owed over $1 million to the bank. But still, she took out more loans somehow. By 2001, Janet had just $700 left and was $2.5 million in debt. That's when she filed for bankruptcy and disappeared from the spotlight. Like Janet, this next lottery winner ended up declaring bankruptcy after just a few years. Number 6. William Bud Post. William Bud Post had no money, no job, and not much hope until one day he traded his ring for 40 lottery tickets. And somehow that desperate little deal turned into a $16 million win. But that win lasted for just a few moments. The second the money reached his account, Bud started spending like he had unlimited zeros in the bank. He bought gifts for everyone. He handed out money to family members like it was candy. He also leased restaurant spaces for his siblings, bought a car lot for his brother, and even got himself an airplane, despite not needing or knowing how to fly one. Within just 3 months, he had burned through so much that he was already $500,000 in debt. And that's not even the worst part. He bought a $395,000 mansion to match the lifestyle he thought he could keep up. But the cost of keeping a mansion further emptied his bank account. Then came the drama. The woman who had helped him buy those tickets sued him for a cut. The court agreed to her claim, and that cost him another $5.5 million. As if that much betrayal wasn't enough, his own brother tried to have him killed for the money. You would think that would be rock bottom, but no. Bud later got into legal trouble himself after shooting at a creditor. He ended up serving time and came home to nothing. In the end, Bud was living off a $450 disability check per month. He had no car, no mansion, no jet anymore, just bills and regrets. When he died in 2006, his fortune was long gone, and his name had become a warning for all the lottery winners. Number 5. Sharon Tirabassi. Sharon Tirabassi was living a regular life in Ontario. She had a small apartment, no car, 3 kids, and not much to her name. Then, out of nowhere, she won the lottery. And not just any win, she took home £8 million, which is about $11 million US. For Sharon, who grew up bouncing between shelters and living off welfare, this was a fairy tale. At first, everything went smoothly. She bought a house, married Vinny, had more kids, and improved her lifestyle. She gifted $1 million to her parents, split almost $2 million between her siblings, and helped friends with rent and business ideas. She even bought rental homes to support other families. So yes, she was quite generous, but not very strategic. She took her friends on trips to Vegas, the Caribbean, and Cancun. So basically everywhere you would go if you felt you had an infinite amount of money. She bought a yellow Hummer, a Mustang, a Dodge Charger, and a Cadillac Escalade all at once. And even when she had cash, she still bought her house with a $360,000 mortgage. Make that make sense. She said she always checked her account while spending. But the number seemed so big, she thought it would never run out. But of course, it did. By year 9, she was down to her last $750,000. The fun slowed down fast after that. Then came more bad luck. Her husband Vinny crashed their car while driving impaired and ended up in jail. They lost the house, moved around a lot, and when he got out, he went right back to prison for driving without a license. Everything just kept falling apart. Now Sharon is back to renting and working part-time. And the shocking part is, she says she is happier this way. But let's be real, if she had held on to that money just a little longer, things might have been very different. Next, we have the story of a lottery winner who lost everything due to her one addiction. Number 4. Evelyn Adams. We are talking about Evelyn Adams. Life gifted Evelyn with something most people only dream about. She won not just 1, but 2 lotteries. That's right, in the mid-1980s, she won twice in New Jersey and took home a total of $5.4 million. You would think that kind of rare luck would guarantee a life of comfort. But no, Evelyn somehow managed to burn through all of it. Instead of putting the money to work, she took it straight to Atlantic City. And not just for a little fun, she became a regular at the casinos. They rolled out the red carpet for her, of course. But those slot machines weren't doing her any favors. She gambled constantly, day after day, and the money disappeared faster than anyone could believe. She didn't invest in anything good, had no savings accounts, just losses. By the time she realized how deep she had gone, it was already too late. Eventually, Evelyn hit rock bottom. The millions were gone. She ended up living in a trailer completely broke, with nothing to show for all that money. It's not even like she lived large. There was no mansion, no yacht, no empire. Just years wasted at casino tables. Now, Evelyn openly admits she regrets it. She says she wishes she had slowed down, made smarter choices, and actually planned for the future. But hindsight, as they say, doesn't pay the bills. Number 3. Gerald Muswagon. Next, we have the tragic story of Gerald Muswagon. In 1998, he bought a $2 ticket and hit the jackpot of $10 million. This much money could have changed his life, but just 7 years later, Gerald was dead with no money to his name. He died by suicide in his parents' garage after a brutal spiral of bad decisions, lost money, and personal tragedy. You see, right after the win, Gerald did what too many winners do. He spent his money like he had an infinite amount of it. He bought sports cars, a giant house that quickly became a non-stop party pad, and expensive gifts for friends. One day, he reportedly bought 8 big screen TVs just to give them away. The spending was wild, but worse, he started getting deep into drugs and alcohol. That money didn't last long. A few years in, Gerald tried to turn things around. He launched his own lumber business called Gerald's Logging, but it failed, so he fell back into his old habits: partying, wasting money, and running into trouble. In 2000, he led police on a 111 miles per hour joyride in his Chevy Silverado. He ended up in jail for 3 months. After that, it only got worse. His wife passed away. He pleaded guilty to sexual assault. Another 3 months behind bars. By then, he was broke. With 6 kids and no savings, he was working on a farm just to survive. He went from millionaire to doing hard labor just to get by. His cousin later said Gerald didn't have the right people around him. No one helped him manage the money. and his lawyer confirmed it too that Gerald had a hard time adjusting, coming from poverty with very little education or guidance. In 2005, just 7 years after winning the lottery, Gerald took his own life. His fortune was gone, and so was he. Just like Gerald, this next winner had no one who could advise her, so she ended up losing everything she had. Number 2. Suzanne Mullins. Suzanne Mullins won $4.2 million in the lottery back in 1993. For a while, her life changed for good. She chose the smart-looking option of splitting the money into yearly payments for herself, her husband, and her daughter. After taxes, they each received around $47,000 a year. But then Suzanne made a choice that changed everything. Her son-in-law got sick, and he had no insurance, and the treatment was expensive. So Suzanne, trying to help, paid around $1 million for his medical bills. It was kind, yes, but it drained her bank account. A few years in, she was already struggling. So in 1998, she borrowed $200,000 using her future lottery payments as a promise to repay later. She just needed cash sooner. The loan company agreed, no surprise, as that's how they make money. Then the rules changed. In 2000, lottery winners were suddenly allowed to claim the rest of their prize as a lump sum. Suzanne did exactly that. She received the remaining money, but after that, she stopped paying the loan company back. And of course, they noticed. In 2004, they sued her. She owed them $154,000, but when it came time to pay, Suzanne had nothing left. She had no assets, no savings, just debt. The money was gone, and so was the security she thought she had. Suzanne never expected to be broke again, but even with good intentions, the money didn't last. And that's how one woman's winning ticket led her all the way to court. Next, we have a winner who returned to his old job just 8 years after winning the lottery. Number 1. Michael Carroll. Michael Carroll won nearly £10 million in the UK lottery, which is about $13.7 million US. He was just 19 years old at that time and was working as a garbage collector. He didn't even have a bank account or a financial plan at that time, just a long criminal record. He promised he wouldn't spend big, just wanted a small house by a lake so he could go fishing. That promise didn't last long. He started handing out money left and right. He gave $1.37 million US each to his mom, aunt, and sister. After that, he splurged money on cars, parties, gold jewelry, and trips. He even invested $5.35 million into a bond, meant to last him long term, but he didn't follow the plan. He dipped into it early and got hit with huge penalty fees. Pretty soon, we heard the news that he got drunk and smashed windows in town with steel balls launched from his van. That stunt earned him an ASBO and 240 hours of community service. Then he got into more trouble, was sent to jail for a fray, and the press labeled him the Lotto Lout. He once claimed to pay a $178,000 ransom to blackmailers who threatened his family and killed his dogs. After that, he abandoned his mansion and fled town. He went from millionaire to tabloid joke. By 2010, he had no money left. Michael Carroll returned to his old job collecting trash. And when asked about losing it all, he said he had no regrets. But come on, if your win ends with jail time, ransom payments, and your dogs killed in your own yard, maybe a little regret wouldn't hurt. The truth is, money does something to your brain. You suddenly feel like you have to spend as much as you can, as fast as you can. But what's the most anyone has spent on their very first big purchase? Check out the next video to find out.